Okay, yet again, Unto the Breach, turn 19, and to be honest, the most important thing that happened this turn didn't happen to me at all. There was a battle in Ashdod, and Ermor sent in a kill squad of lictors backed up by enough chaff to distract the castle walls against a Hinnomite province defense that at this point basically consists only of the wall guards, a few mages, and the right pretender, the Air 4, Earth 7, Nature 7, Blood 5 Golden Idol. Now, the Golden Idol is very tough. It's got 32 protection and is resistant to most forms of damage, but I'm going to bet that these lictors are able to crit it down. So, the Ermorian forces charge the wall. They kill the one Anarchite in the way. Now, fire elementals would normally be an excellent counter to the undead, and indeed against the non-lictors they are. You can see that they're actually slaughtering them, but if they come in contact with lictors, the magic weapons will do the deed. There's some banishment coming out from these mages, from the priest, and then the fire mages have exhausted their fire gems and so cannot create any more elementals. And thus the defense forces on the ground are passing into death. Now, after the Ermorian forces clear the walls by getting distracted, you can see the ghouls are actually getting in the way of the lictors here, allowing these Gileadite archers more time to do damage. Gileadite archers are excellent, but two of them isn't going to kill a Ermorian army. Now, what Ashdod will be hoping here is that these long dead and soulless clump up around the god, preventing the lictors getting to them, and so far that's what's happening. And he's just shooting point blank flying shards, going to sleep, flying shards, go to sleep, flying shards, go to sleep, and that'll cost Ermor some chaff while the lictors all hover around here waiting for their chance to murder the few hundred archers that are left on the wall. There's just no way. Yeah, 6 damage, 32 protection, go home. Not even with exploding dice. Like, hypothetically possible, but no. Unfortunately, what the right pretender does here actually ends up costing him. By killing the chaff around himself, he allows the lictors to make contact. And while he can kill maybe a lictor at a time with point-blank shotgun work, and even though lictors will most of the time do no damage, they're chipping him down. And because the statue is inanimate, it can't regenerate. So if this chassis could regenerate, it would probably be able to regen through this and force a retreat eventually. But instead, eventually the lictors chop through the malleable gold and cut it down. So, Ashdod has been taken. Woe is the living, I suppose. I know that's scared Facia and Shinoyama and Kalem and a bunch of other people on this map, where we're all really concerned that Ermor has done really, really well. I don't regret my initial outreach to them, and I'm going to stick by the promises I've made, but this is very frightening. Other events, 292 gold from all. So this and a province of forging assistance is linked to the fact that I will be handing over Bakar 207. Reality is the Throne of Ice, it's good, but it got Ulm antsy, and forging and money is worth it to me, so I'll take a small amount of money now and some items that will come through when he's able to produce them for me, and that will convince me to hand this over and allow him to fort and defend Bakar. Siege of Man continues. What other events happened? 7 air gems from Asphodel. As before, we claimed the Throne of Might, so our Bless has now been upgraded. We summoned Condors. We found no magic sites with our Royal Malky. This is all payback for when we found 6 on our first go. Ermor cleared some independence, and then we came into Scarce Hope Wastes. And Pythium tried to duke us, thinking we would just come in with a small Apu group and that they'd be able to kill it. Instead, we obviously came in with a full army, and this shows that their old tricks aren't working anymore, essentially. That these blocks of infantry that embarrassed our Condors the first time we encountered them really, really don't scare us anymore, because we have numbers now. We have numbers and we have chaff. So we lost 2 Condors and 11 slaves, and we slaughtered 70 units, including a mage, some communicants, and 65 velites. So this is completely asymmetrical. I love it. His god went to Gwelladon. We didn't put any forces in Gwelladon, so that's where he is. And we'll talk about why that's important in a moment. Suicide in the God province again. In any case, the overall... Sorry, there might have been a video cut there. In any case, the overall situation is this. I think we have Pythium more or less trapped. So by choosing to move to Welladon, Pythium has left themselves with a couple of choices. They can stay put in Welladon. They can move east to Tyrannia. They can violate Uruk's sovereignty. They can't cross this river to Pythium, or they can go north to Grey Forest. And if they go north to Grey Forest, then they're just as trapped. They can suicide the throne, or they can invade Ermor. Either of these options would preserve life. I doubt this or this would happen. So we're going to assume they're either staying put or they're moving back to Tyrannia, which means we now have enough troops to pincer them. So we can bring the forces over here that have claimed all this territory. This is a kill group that's entirely capable of taking on the god. And then we can also at the same time move our freshly gathered sacred group and slaves and lancers over here. So whichever way they go, they're probably stuffed. Once that's cleaned up, we can then dedicate the forces we need to eliminating these independents and consider our next move. Strategically, we need to keep rolling. We need to keep rolling because we're now rapidly growing our military power, but because our research is a paltry 57 points per turn, because we're against summoning condors, and it only goes up when we're not casting summon condors, which is itself a problem when you are not doing that. It means you're failing diplomatically or on your site searching, or at least you're not optimizing. Because our research is so low and the battle magic is starting to come out, we need to move now to capitalize on our advantage before other people catch up in terms of magic, in order to get the sort of economy we need despite our scales to produce the mages to do the research so that we can keep up. This Pythium finish was a good win, but there's going to be infrastructure costs associated with temples and like. We've built one temple here. We're going to build another temple here. We're going to have to build temples here as well if we're going to hold back Ermor's dominion, because the moment we kill Pythium's god and we think we're going to kill them this turn, all these defensive candles will disappear. And that's a problem because we don't want to lose this to Ermorian pop kill. Now we're recruiting another Ukla here because they're basically flying priests and we can get our temples up relatively quickly. So we're planning to finally snuff out Pythium. Then we're planning to do some expansion against independence. Unfortunately, Machaka is being besieged by Earth Elementals. Good to know we're not the only ones, although having a fortress besieged is probably more of a problem than us losing 35 income for a few turns. The question then is, what is our next strategic play? And we have two open to us. We can cancel our arrangements with Ermor and move now, or we can get involved in something else. I'll describe what that something else is, because I would have been sorely tempted up here if no other reason than public duty, but the fact is Ermor would chew us up and spit us out at the moment. Ermor doesn't care much about raiding because they don't need income. All their temples are going to be defended by forts, and you can see already just in this small fraction of the Ermorian Empire how many forts there are. They have enough long dead to constantly counter-raid back unless you can leave forces in provinces. My masses of Hatun Runa will be useless up north without supply items because they can't feed them, and without food they take a -4 morale debuff, which means you're looking at, let's find some Hatun Runa. Yeah, -4, so like 3 to 4 morale maybe? Yeah. Nah, that's not in any way serviceable. Not in any way serviceable, even against basic long dead that you heavily outnumber. Condors will get slaughtered. They'll kill a lot of units, sure, but he has so many units. Condors are better at killing elites than they are against killing masses and masses of chaff. So, in every respect, Ermor's sort of got our number on that one. The solution to Ermor, I think, is we need supply items and we need research, because their research is as bad or even worse than ours, and eventually, if other people can hold them off, we'll go in with enough magical research and diversity that we can make an impact. But for now, fighting them is just not an option. They don't want to fight us either, because we can counter-raid them effectively, we can inflict losses even if we gain asymmetrical losses, our land is worth less because of our scales. There's a lot of reasons that they'll want to not expand the fight, plus the fight past the fights they're already having against Kalem, Shinuyama, and Facia, and quite possibly soon Relay. We'll see. They won't want another fight, and that's perfectly fine by us. We'll prop up the people who are fighting them while also remaining in a trading relationship with Ermor. Of course, we'll make sure our partners know that we're in contact with Ermor, and we won't share intel we get from one with the other and vice versa. We'll respect all confidences. But for the moment, there's a limit to what we can do. So we will move out. We'll take this province. We're building a fort on this province. Eventually, we're going to have to send someone to claim this, but for the moment, I want this province so I can temple it and start building up a Dominion bulwark here. So what we're going to do instead is really quite fortuitous. So, Orm has moved on to man's capital. However, Orm is feeling very threatened by the fact there's apparently a giant Urukian stack here, and we'll try and get scouts there eventually to verify where exactly it is and what's happening. Orm has got us on notice to, one, because they want to buy this throne, and two, because they want to enter into a cooperation agreement regarding Uruk, because they are feeling as if Uruk has already taken some of their just gains from all their hard fighting, and they want to enter into an arrangement whereby they essentially hire us to put pressure on Uruk, likely by cancelling our nap. Not going to war, but by cancelling our nap with Uruk, which means that we can make a tidy sum just posturing against Uruk, and then if war does happen, will be well positioned. Now, it's very hard for Nazca to turn down monetary aid, forging aid, any of that sort of thing. Orm is a reasonably useful ally to have because they're not a good matchup against you later. So if you go with the principle that you always ally with the weak against the strong, Orm is a natural pairing. So we'll pursue that. We'll potentially end our nap with Uruk if we can secure like a proper deal with Orm, and we'll negotiate over this province. So after we've cleaned up, if we successfully clean up, we may go ahead with that and begin redeploying to the Urukian border and see what we can earn out of that process. So that was turn 19. Was there anything I missed? Yep, there was a arena battle and exactly what I thought would happen. The Child of Oni with their artifact, again, won. Facia sent a Locos, so very sad for them. We sent our Apu, who had absolutely no chance against this Locos. This was Participation Trophy, representative of our generation, who jumped in and apparently got hit once and was muted by the spear before finally being killed, I think, on the second strike. Massive overkill there. So, yeah, sucks to be him. We've intercepted some scouts, and we were attacked by the knights. We always knew we were going to be eventually attacked by these knights. We'll use them as a nice little suicide point, just a break from suiciding on these guys here, who I think we're murdering. Yeah, we're murdering these guys this turn. And yeah, once we've got the forces available, we'll clear these ones up. Now, I could be sending the forces that are going here up here, but to be honest, I think this is sufficient. So turn economy says no need. So that's the plan for now. I'll see you in turn 20, and we'll see if Pythium is finally in the ground. Alright, turn 20 of YetAgainUntoTheBreach, and before we do our usual run through everything, let's have a look at what happened in Gwelledon, because their god decided to stand and fight. So this force, which has conquered their capital and the throne province, came in, jumped, murdered all of the legionaries. Meanwhile, the bull is buffing up as the condors complete their work, and then the condors actually stroll into battle, take a casualty from flying shards, and then I think at this point, the god is stunned. Everything else jumps in, and then they're just going to chip him down through. You can see all of those hits piling up. A lot of it's shock weapons. Some of it is damage from the 16 damage condors, so the ones that got buffed successfully. And then because he breaks out of stun very, very briefly, only to be, I believe, immediately stunned again. Yep, immediately stunned again. I just assume based on the low casualty counts. And then he's dead. So, that was the final province Pythium held. The god of Pythium has been permanently vanquished, which means all these Dominion candles here are gone, and we better get temples up soon. So we're building a temple there. And then as soon as we have the money, which we don't just yet, we've got to temple these as a matter of urgency. So let's go through everything else that happened. Summoned condors, received a ring of water breathing from Facia. That's important so we can get site searches underwater. We want to be able to get royal Malkis to go underwater. Royal Malkis may themselves be undead, but their palanquin bearers are slaves. And those slaves are very much alive, and they cannot carry the palanquin underwater, and the Malkis have no means of their own motivation. It's not like the Slan from Warhammer, where they can telekinetically like move themselves around, or if they can, they're too lazy to do so. So we traded for a ring of water breathing. We cast dark knowledge. That was to finally find that well of pestilence in our province. We had an Akla search for one path, and they found 2 sites. A Whispering Tower, which is good. That's an air gem. So now we're up to 4 air gems per turn, which means next turn we'll have enough for condors. And then we also found an Alchemist Guild. So that's 1 fire, 1 earth. I'm not sure I'll recruit alchemists because they're very expensive for what they are. They're old age human mages with 1/1/1, no random. And we already have access to all of these through our other mages. So I'm not sure I'll pay for these guys unless I really want an alchemist, which I doubt I will. But it's still a 2 gem site. So very happy about that. Then there were a series of battles. This was killing the Jaguar tribe. Yeah, we'll watch it. So, as expected, Jaguar tribe are capable of inflicting casualties just because they have like sheer amount of shit, and throwing sling stones and spears kills our very fragile units, even if we lawnmower through them. So you see the sling stones do some damage, but really we murder them. And even the Hartoon Runa do have a good showing, killing people as well. They kill 16 people. They don't retreat, so that's good. That's 78 Hartoon Runa to get a little bit of experience, possibly some more morale and stats. We only lose 1 condor. Love it. Tapan, this is, Throne Province. Gueladon. Muspel. I think Muspel is the Night Province. Yes, so we just suicide on that. We saw a battle in Salt Plains where Calum just tried to raid Ermor thinking they wouldn't have PD, and they didn't. And then there was a battle in Hiperboche, which was us coming in and killing these guys. These adorable Edens. And Edens are the sort of thing that Nazcan Sacreds love to kill. They are big, fat stacks of HP with very little in the way of attack and defense. They do very high damage, but they attack slowly, which means Nazcan Sacreds just eat them up. Because Nazcan Sacreds have excellent stats, can stun them, and destroy them. So that would be scary for some people, not scary for Nazca. Then, series of events. Growth +2, income +2. That's in the province, that's in Grain Coast. That's where the Well of Pestilence is. So everyone will die eventually, but for now they're happy. Tifia, growth. Death +2, province resources. This got rid of the province that was in this area. But it's causing negative damage. We'll keep patrolling it to eventually get rid of the cult. +26 unrest. We'll have to patrol that. Nazca patrols everything. 9 gems, good, and 5 of them were Astral Pearls, very happy. Barbarian Horde, so we'll see that in a moment. And this says this is the last turn that the Throne of Gaia was attacking. Now, there were several Throne of Gaia attacks. Independent Undead attacked Ermor and won. So that's 1 province that's been raided back from Ermor. Not that sad for them, they're doing really well. Monster Boars attacked Uruk and won. I'm very excited about this, because that shuts down fort production there for a turn, which is a good thing. Independents attacked Uruk but were defeated, and they didn't lose anything. But it's alright, it happens. And we were attacked in Misty Forest, and we defeated them, but we lost 4 condors. Somewhat annoying, but it means that we killed the barbarians and didn't lose a turn of province income. We lost... Now, I said earlier that... Ermor is good at scouting because they have a lot of undead who can patrol, and that gets rid of your scouts. So we lost 2 scouts this turn. We're going to try and return the favour on other nations as we get our patrol groups up. So we're starting to get, we've got 3 patrol groups up, we'll get more, 3 more slave producers. I haven't stopped and noted that we have been massively increasing the number of slave producers we have, and we're spreading them out between our fortresses that are closely interlinked to get production going. So we have 4 going in our capital, 2 going over here, and we'll have 3 here and 4 here. And we're also got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going in Pythium and 1 going in Questria. And remember, each of those is, I think, D6 plus 4 slaves. So you're starting to get an idea of what is happening to our army size, even though I am not spending a cent on troops. I have not hired a troop. This is all summoning and slave capturing. And you can see the angle of the curve is going up each turn, with slightly narrower this turn because we had losses in battle, but for the most part, the speed of our curve is increasing, and has now eclipsed the points in the game where we were buying troops, so we should be happy with that. Our income is also shooting up as we start to reclaim just the last few provinces. So, That was this turn. What has happened and what is going to happen? So, we are going to clear out these earth elementals. We're going to clear out these knights. We're going to search this province here and move a Akla out this way to start getting temple and lab infrastructure set up on this province. Once this search is complete, then we're probably going to double back and claim the throne. We are also distributing forces again. So one of the forces that's coming out here is Sinchi, who now has 21 Sapphire and water-breathing gear. And that means Sinchi is then in a position to jump down here into this independent-owned lake and put themselves on the flank of Uruk. Oh, look, Machaka hasn't reclaimed their fort yet. They should do that. There's probably a lot of money in production there. I might ask if they need help about that. Anyway, jump in that lake and put them on the border with Uruk. Ulm is continuing to siege this down, but is continuing to be very concerned about Uruk. So the negotiations proceed apace there. It looks like, yes, I will cancel my nap, and they will take this throne for some combination of monetary and forging assistance. I think they're looking to barter some sort of long-term grand strategic bargain. Now, I'll take that as long as it doesn't eclipse my alliance with Machaka, because first come, first serve. You don't sign a deal which diminishes the importance of another deal you've signed. They can only operate in that sort of chronological tiering unless you change the terms, which I would obviously tell GC if I did. So anyway, that means that we're filtering a bunch of scouts into Uruk. And we will redeploy forces after we have cleaned up these provinces, because there's no question of us not being ready in time. Intelligence is a really important part of war in Dominions. I want to know where all of Uruk's forces are, what mages he has where. Like, I'm not worried about Naditus, but if he has more powerful mages, I want to know. If he has armies, I want to know. Because Urukian armies can inflict significant casualties on Nazca if you don't bring sufficient forces to a particular fight, and I do not want to fall into that trap. So, that's my planning. My planning is I'm site searching, I'm cleaning up the last independents, and I'm getting a scout network established with the goal of hopefully covering the entire front in flying scouts and producing some to that. We'll do a quick economic update, then we'll talk diplomacy, because diplomacy is important as always. So, production-wise, cheap research mages around here, and one Huron I think we were able to afford. Capital is producing Inca, because at the moment we're still producing more of these Condor army group composites, which is 20 to 40 Condors plus a complement of slaves. That's sort of my standard operating unit, because it's capable of killing PD with very little losses. It's capable of breaking forts relatively quickly, especially when combined with another equally sized force, and it will beat an average opponent's field army at this state of the game. So it meets a good definition for what we would think of a division to be. A unit capable of operating and fighting independently, but also capable of combining into something like a corps in order to win a conflict. So that's what we're doing over there. Diplomatically, we're moving scouts towards Celeria to provide scouting assistance for Machaka in their war with Celeria. So we're starting to get this scout picture, and we're feeding that intelligence as we get it. We're watching with some concern the complete destruction of Bandar Log by Vanheim. This doesn't surprise me too much, but we will move scouts in to get an eye on them, because Elves completely destroying Bandar Log. So a Vanheim that stretches from here to here makes them easily competitive with us. Up there with Calum, soon to be Ulm, I imagine. There are some quite successful rapid early expanders that we need to think about. Oh, and Ermor is obviously the big one. So there are some major powers forming already that we need to be aware of. We haven't heard much about what's happening in the lake, but we will stay abreast of that. What we do know is Ys is directing so many forces towards that they haven't yet taken Moon Sea. They're focusing on the war, not on closing out their expansion. That could make some sense, these areas, if it means that they end up with something like the capital, but we will see. Ermor continues with its, has now completed its win over Ashdod, and I think is now in an escalating battle against the Phaeacians over in the west, the Shinuyamans, and the Kalians in the east and north respectively. That provides an interesting diplomatic setting, but our course is probably at this point set. We will be selling our services to the Ulmish and potentially backing them up in a conflict with Uruk. Not because we have any disdain for Uruk, but because, as I'm sure Cronus would understand, I have very little economic choice, but to take a option like that when it's available to me, partitioning Uruk would be great. So we'll continue with our research and our production schedule. We'll clean up our provinces, search them up, and see where we go from there. Alright, yet again Unto the Breach turn 21, and things are relatively simple for Nazca, but not so simple for our neighbours. So let's go through it. We've started to receive small parts of our payments from Ulm. This is basically committing us to provide as yet unspecified levels of support in a potential conflict with Uruk over the Manish territories. We've finally finished enchantment level 3. We haven't looked at enchantment for a while, so let's have a look. So we've just finished enchantment 3. Enchantment 3 gives us strength of giants, which will increase the punching power of our sacreds. This is something I wanted to beeline because if we fight Uruk, we want to be able to punch through armor and high HP. That means getting an extra +4 damage on every attack is important. The rest of this, not so important to us at the moment, but hey, it's handy. We're going for evocation 3 and 4 next. 3 will get us things like Fireball. 4, it's helpful. It gets us to Thunderstrike, which is hard for us to cast, but really it's just part of our long-term plan to work towards Earthquake. I may yet change this, but what you can see is research is starting to come more online, 137, and that comes down to the fact that we're bringing more Uklas and Hurons online, and that not everyone's flying around killing people. So, yes. Other things that happen. So, our Royal Malky found 2 sites. The Sky Split Oak, which gives us another air gem, so now up to 7 per month there, and the Witch's Bog, which is water death, very good. Tidu Rocker found a magic site in Hyperboche, Copper Idol. You saw we go up to 7 air gems, but that was the other part of the boost. And then the equally named dude has found... What was new? Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry, this is confusing. I need to explain this in terms of battles. So, there was a battle in Scarce Hope Waste. Where is it? I can't find it. Give me one moment. I might be blind. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so this is a little confusing. So, we discovered scouts in Scarce Hope Wastes. So Scarce Hope Wastes is this wasteland here. We found 2. One was Machakan and one was Yisian. Anyway, because we're always scared of losing our Royal Malky, we had them set to retreat. Now, while that means innate spellcasters going off as they retreat, it means that they run away from this scout. Now, because of the way turn order procs, they've already searched the province at this point. So, this is actually amazing. Because what it means is we search this province and then retreat it up here, which brings us closer to the other provinces we want to search. So that's actually great move economy. So we killed 2 scouts there, we searched, we found 1 fire, 1 air, and there's slightly more supplies in this wasteland than there would normally be. So that was great. So that was a good haul of gems this turn. Muspel we took back from the Knights. We lost 1 Condor. I'm not going to show you all these. Ermor killed those independents that took their province. Uruk attacked the monster boar and lost. So they attacked with, I think, just Mercenary and some Vine troops. And the trampling boars came up and, while taking a lot of damage, trampled them. So that fort's under siege for another turn. Unfortunate. We killed the Earth Elementals. We suicided again. And then we handed over, as part of a grand bargain, the terms of which I'll go into a little bit later, we handed over this throne province. This will lower our threat profile. It makes Ulm much more predisposed to us. It doesn't give away anything that's particularly important to us, but most importantly, it secures us a long-term partner who will give us access to item forging, basically at request, and an ally in another war that we can fight while we get ready for this Ermor conflict. So that was fine. And then Ermor attacked another force of independence and actually suffered some pretty serious losses among their Solus and Ghouls, but Solus and Ghouls for Ermor, like, totally replaceable. No problemo. Unexpected events, group of knights attacked Hyperboche, unexpected event in Bogarton, and so all plus unrest events. But we'll patrol them down, it won't be a problem. We defeated those knights that attacked us in Hyperboche because we happened to be there with a sacred force. Bad choice of targets, guys. Like, seriously, Nazcan rule is here to stay as long as legions of condors are present. We found a false prophet and heretic. So these generate bad events if you don't find them. Eventually you get an event to say they exist. And sometimes you find them before the event even fires. So we found them and we killed them, because Hut and Runa are perfectly capable of killing unarmored dudes in robes with daggers. No problem. And then we found a bunch of scouts who we killed. We lost more scouts in Ermor. We won't give up on scouting Ermor for the moment. Slaughtered those scouts, and then it's all patrols from there. You then saw at the end there that the Right Pretender, the god of Ashdod, has finally been vanquished, which means all their candles will disappear from here. That's actually fine by me, because it means this area will start to die, which denies the huge gold income of this area to Ermor, but it also means that Ermor's dominion, because he will temple this, will come up and hit us soon. So that's very unfortunate that is happening, and it means that it's more important than ever that we get this claimed, so it spreads... we have claimed this. We claimed this a while ago. This templed to double up the Dominion spread here and get this palisade up here, which will be done in 1 turn. This palisade will be done in 2. Get these both templed, maybe get some preachers in here and start to bulwark this area against the Ermorian Dominion, or we'll lose all this, which we don't want to do. So... what are we doing? We are now essentially finished clearing all of our borders. So the question becomes, what do we need to deploy to where in order to be ready? The movements that you're seeing going east are almost always site searches. They are not troops. We are moving all of our sacreds and troops that we can muster that aren't on patrol duty. We are cycling them west with a view to eventually being positioned for a strike on Uruk if Orm calls us to do so. We expect that will happen, and here is why. Orm is no longer on Man's capital. We believe what has happened there is that Man has launched another Hail Mary assault, which I believe they've done before. Another Hail Mary assault with a bunch of swarm and nature gems spent to make Orm pay and knock them off. Now, that Urukian army, which took this former Manish territory here, looks awfully like it's going to go onto Man's capital, and you can presume Orm took some significant losses. Now, we're talking to Man, and we're basically undertaking that, look, we've disclosed what our relationship with Orm is. They still think in the long run we're a good option to make Orm pay, so they're actually quite friendly with us. As long as, in the end, Orm doesn't win the game, and they think we're the best party to guarantee that. So if they go out, we may get death basketed, we'll see. But for the moment, I expect that Uruk will push on to Man, and that will spark the Ormish War. So we're having to position. We are moving scouts. We're moving a lot of scouts, and I want coverage of everything that I can possibly see so that I can launch some deep strike operations. Troops, sacreds, moving around. Not everything to the front just yet, because they'll be highly visible, but certainly marshalling. We're summoning some more condors. That'll go in Punchau's group, so Punchau will have something like 40 condors, 15 sun guards, and then a couple of slaves. And we've got lots of slaves massing up in the other fortresses too. They're currently going into patrol groups, but those patrol groups can be emptied into recruited Apu Scripe groups and go in with the sacreds to provide some bulk, some mass to stop our sacreds being killed en masse by the Urukian sacreds and troops, particularly the Maidens of the Moon, who have all those lovely resistances and still more than enough damage to kill our birds, and also the ability to repel them because they have spears. So, our essential plan at the moment is we're going to commence our redeployment. We're going to search this province up before we take this water province. The reason we'll do is because as soon as we go in there, it will become suspicious if we don't then immediately pull out of that water province, other than maybe 1 turn to search. So I don't want to go in there too early, lest I give away what the purpose of this unit would be in this lake, and that purpose would be to open up this entire eastern flank, because Nazca is not only a flying nation, it is a flying amphibious nation, and that's just not fair, but we're going to use it to our absolute advantage. What's happening elsewhere? So, we're continuing to give intelligence on Celeria to Machaka. We're in contact with Vanarus. Hopefully we'll try and talk Vanarus into supporting our good friends the Machakans against the Scalarians. We're watching to see if there's a storm in Summerlands here. Then we'll move a scout over to Bandar Log itself to see if it falls. But those are the main conflicts we're interested in at the moment. It's good to see Uruk has secured this water, because it means it's less likely that Vanheim will be able to vulture it. which means it's potentially in play for Orm or me when we move in, and mostly me because I don't think Orm is amphibious at this point in the game. They'll become amphibious eventually, but they're not amphibious right now, and that's what matters to me. It's turn 21. We're coming up on the time for a next offensive push, but for the moment we're just rapidly redeploying. We're getting our research up, but our research is not going to be critical to this war. We already have what we need, which is Strength of Giants. If we need anything else, we'll go with it at the time. But for the moment, mass up mages, continue summoning troops, capturing slaves, and we'll see where we are in turn 22. Alright, turn 22, and this is more important as a turn in terms of what is happening to other people than what is happening to us, but it also preludes, I think, the last turn for a while where I won't be issuing offensive instructions. So, the big development this turn, before we do events list or anything, is that Uruk, as expected, has moved on to man. This is essentially the trigger. This is Orm's red line. So Orm has now said, yes, I will commission you, commence an offensive against Uruk, and I will do the same. Now, my nap with Uruk will have lapsed next turn, so I will be able to launch offensive operations next turn. So I am positioning this turn with everything I have for a blitz and then maneuver war with Uruk. So we'll launch a sort of deep strike Blitzkrieg, and then we'll wage Bewegungskrieg after that, trying to avoid their primary armies while rolling up their territory in order to make sure that we, not Orm, get a majority of the share. Orm for this has promised monetary compensation, but also, more importantly, access to forging services, and when he goes to Construction 6, access to Lightless Lanterns. Lightless Lanterns would completely change our research arrangement because we'd be able to give Uklas them and suddenly have what is effectively... instead of having a 6 research mage, we can take that up and have something like an 18 research mage, which is obviously much superior and very affordable. It completely changes the research game for Nazca. So access to lanterns is well worth signing on with Orm for. As part of this, so Man has decided, yep, I'll just let Uruk take my capital. And Nazca, I know you're sorted with Orm, but have my air gems. Have my air gems. So 65 air gems from Man, 367 gold from Man, and message. Small gift. Hopefully you can jump on with the Flyhordes in the course of the game and claim vengeance for Man. I will do that. I will absolutely jump Orm. I messaged them on Discord afterwards and said, look, I'm happy to give this back because I have no immediate plans to attack Orm. In fact, I'm working with them. And they were like, nah. As long as you deny them the win in the game, that's perfectly fine. I have mixed feelings on death basketing, but at the end of the day, it's like people's resources are theirs to do with as they will, and at the end of the day, if their deterrent message is, if you attack me early, I will give someone else items as long as they agree to make sure you do not win that game, maybe that's a disincentive. Maybe that is the message they want to send, so there it is. This means we are turning on the Condor tap, and we are not going to stop. Like, seriously, we're not going to stop now. We have 66 air gems and 7 a month. We can cast for years. I've put this order on repeat. I don't even need to cast it every turn now. I set it on repeat and never going to stop. So 20 per turn, just keep it happening. We searched a whole bunch of stuff for sites and found nada. We suicided again, and then we saw a battle in Summerlands. First where Bandar Log sallied, and then where Vanarus stormed. So first Bandar Log sallied out with a unit of Bandar warriors with experienced stars, so decently statted, hard-hitting monkeys, along with a whole bunch of monkey archers, and they were facing a Vanarusian stack, which is mostly human Hirdman infantry, and then a couple of these Van Hearses and a group of these Sacreds. Now these Vans are Reinvigoration, Blood Surge, and Invulnerability 10. Invulnerability 10 means they have 20 protection, near Black Steel levels of protection against mundane attacks, while still having 21 defense. So, bring magic weapons or don't bother, because these guys are going to come up to you, they're going to Blood Surge when they kill you with their lances, and they're going to start cutting through you, because at that point they have 17 attack, 3 attacks, at 17, 13, and 16 damage. They still have 21 defense and 13 hit points, and they have 20 protection. Now these guys have stats buffed by this, but you don't even notice at this point. These are incredibly dangerous Sacreds. I think Condors are an okay counter, but only in very serious numbers, and only because the shock damage If the shock damage hits and gets through, it will stun them, which invalidates their defense, which allows you to then cut them down with large numbers of high damage attacks. And also, they'll get Fate Woven, and being Fate Woven eventually means they'll be stunned because they're small number sacreds. Anyway, these Vans just completely cut through this force, along with a smaller number of Valkyries who fly to the back. So yeah, eventually, and there are skin shifters here too, which are regenerating humanoids who can shapeshift. So that was horrifying to watch. That was 2 Huskars were lost to kill a Banda, a Guru, and 86 mixed infantry, including a good number of Bandar who cost 16 gold apiece. These guys cost 140 gold, and the Vans cost 65. This is amazing trade rate, and that's what elves can do. So the elves then stormed the fort. I'm not sure why Bandar sallied out, but they did, and it meant that when the fort was stormed, there was nothing in here. So yeah. So did the archers get some kills? Yeah, archers killed 2 Huskars and 1 crossbowman. Okay, so that province is taken. So we can presume that Vanheim is rocking this war hard and will eventually become a problem. We also note that Vanarus, seeing blood in the water, has decided, this bit's going to belong to me. Not all of it's going to belong to you, Vanheim. So more elves, more pesky elves taking monkey land. But we can't stop it. It just means we're going to have a very powerful rung of elven nations running from here to here, with Vanheim being by far the stronger. Cool. We're seeing a small Usian stack here. Might be they're eventually going to take this, but yeah. So I'll talk about what other people are doing, then we'll go over what our broad war plan is, and then that's where I'll call it, and we'll wait for the next turn where we actually will be launching attacks. So what are other people doing? This looks like Calum and Asphodel sparring up here, for better or worse. Calum is pressuring Asphodel hard, but Asphodel is hanging in there. For the moment, we're not supplying Asphodel anything else. We're letting this play. We're going to give Nasagen a chance. Shiniyama is counterattacking Ermor, but I think this stack is not sufficient to fight these lictors, so we'll see if Shiniyama pulls back or not. But they're certainly making a fight of it. While over here, Facia tells me that they're active, but I don't have eyes on anymore. I have no eyes on the Facian-Ermorian conflict, just like I have no eyes on the conflict up here. So I'm relying on hearsay at this point. I'm also relying on hearsay and a little bit of scouting to show that Machaka is making ground against Scaleria. So good on you, GC. I knew you could do it. I hope they're able to roll up Scaleria. I think it would be amazing to see Machaka do that. And all these pygmies here tell me that this is definitely Flaming Arrow spam. Also got Terracotta Soldiers. Terracotta Soldiers are notable because they regenerate and they're fire resistant. So I'm betting this is chaff to stand in front of Flaming Arrow's pygmies and light up these skeletons. So that's amazing. That's great. I'd love to see it. If I was selfish, I'd direct scouts closer to the front and try and watch the battles, but instead I'm keeping scouts where they're useful and so I can feed more pressing intelligence back to the Machakans. So that's what's happening there. We're going to scout this province, but we've promised it to Ys, so we'll see what the numbers are there. Our Dominion's certainly there, so we know it's worthless, apart from the fact you could recruit mages there, which would be valuable to us for magical purposes, but yeah, we'll see. We also know there's 8 income in good water. Rip, sorry, Ys. Anyway, so what is our war plan? So we're moving the ethereal units into this lake here, which will give us flank access across the eastern flank of the Urukian Empire. We're searching this province here. Searching gives you a perfectly deniable reason to stay in a province for a turn, which is why we only moved there last turn. We can search there for a turn. We're bringing a big group of sacreds up to Helmshire. Big group of conventional troops up to Helmshire. This is much less scary than if we brought the big group. The big group is instead moving here to Tyrania. Now, Tyrania is completely in range of the initial war targets, which would be these northern forts, which we'd want to crack before armies could respond. But unless there's a scout there, and there may be a scout there, but unless there's a scout there, they won't see this force and so won't calculate for it. They'll calculate for this one, but not for that one. This fort is moving east to west to Gwelladon. This is this will cause nerves, but it's partly deniable. We won't deny it, but they might think this is directed towards Ermor or Ulm, but we have to accept it will be visible. And we have to accept it will be visible because at the end of the day, we need to put forces in range of this fort, which troops in Gwelledon can reach. We need to be able to put enough sacreds on both forts that we can take and crack them. We're building up and moving and patrolling large forces here. These small groups, which don't have sacred support, will be responsible for raiding. They'll be responsible for raiding the western side of Uruk and then basically being as annoying as possible around here to keep this force occupied with Ulm and ourselves, while hopefully the sledgehammer forces take the initial defences and then wage a war of manoeuvre before they can fully respond. If the main Urukian forces remain in the south, they can't respond before we are able to storm. Next turn will reveal whether or not we have enough time to make that so. Either way, our scout coverage will be near complete. We will have scouts in all Urukian provinces of note, which means we will know if there are forces present, so the dangers will be hopefully somewhat controlled. And to follow up our first wave, we're also going to be producing a second wave eventually, comprising both of these guys who are coming back from the far north, and also the 40-odd sacreds that will be 50-odd sacreds that will be together by the time our next Inca is prepared to come out and lead them. At that point, we will have something like 5 maneuver elements in our army, and that is a good number. We'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 more to be recruited maneuver elements of varying sizes, with I think this one being one of the strongest, along with the newly created one, and the one coming from the north being the weakest at 27 sacreds, and a bunch of slaves. We won't have significant magic, but we will send in any Earth random Hurons, and we are recruiting Hurons in the hopes of getting an Earth random, just 1 or 2 per major stack to cast Strength of Giants and give our forces some extra punch. We're doing a relatively good job in slowly grinding up it. This is the Pythian invasion. Slowly capitalizing on gem and gold income, but as you know, other people will be overtaking us. Even if they haven't beaten anyone, other people will be overtaking us because our scales are bad and they're now spreading, and they're going to overrule the lovely scales that are currently operating in large parts of Pythium. They're getting rid of the growth and whatever, and they'll bring in full sloth, they'll bring in turmoil, and make life hard. They'll also slow down our research over here. So that's great, it stops Ermor, but it does mean our gold income will fall. So it's going to be wartime. Next turn, I think we'll issue offensive orders for Operation Not Yet Named. And hopefully that will be successful and continue catapulting us forward, keeping us up in terms of pacing, with people like Ulm, for example, that have expanded almost as well, not quite as well as me, will possibly grab a second capital and have much, much better scales. So in any case, that was turn 22, the last turn before we launch offensive operations. See you in turn 23, where we start to plan for everything getting very, very interesting.